Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And now that the normal battles are done and out of the way, it's time to start the boss battles. And they pulled another funny, fast move on us, because Boss Battle 1 is yet again Octagram, Demon Lord, Milim, and Guy's boss battle. So it's not for the Divine Generals team. Normally, we get Divine General single target and AoE stages. Well, we only got single target damage dealers for Divine General, so like, hey, you know what, we'll throw you a bone. Summon on the other banner. So Boss Battle 1 wants you to use an entirely different team setup, and it's a 5-turn fight versus the space 8-turn fight that the actual meta is on. And as you can see, the scoring differential is quite wildly different. So Boss Battle 1 is what we're focusing on today. It is just a single target fight, again, 5 turns. It is against Warrior's Mind Guy? Yeah, but a light version of him. He nerfs blues, he gives himself defense, he seals attack up on everybody, so unless you have a way to negate that with Lord's Ambition, you're not going to benefit from any attack skills. Magic attack is fine, alt damage, all the other stuff is fine, it's just attack. And then lowers crit damage for all targets, including the rear guard, which again means that if you're going to crit, you need a way to get rid of this debuff, hence Lord's Ambition. Otherwise, your crits are going to do less damage. And then he lowers your defense. So, I mean, that's fine, whatever. But the starting hand is a special convert to greens. So Dark Milim, Tria, Wind Lumi, someone like that can handle this turn 1. And if we look at the rankings, like I'm right here. The run I'm going to show you is a bit lower than this because I've been trying for a while and I've kind of gotten incrementally better, but it's the same team that I'm going to show. Everyone else above me that is like 200 to fucking a million more. These are because they are fishing for that 2% chance to naturally crit using the high score team, because Lord's Ambition will allow you to crit at full power. And they're doing runs left and right to hit that 2% chance to hit Milim's natural crit. I tried that for a little bit today. It didn't go very well, so I'm just gonna probably chill here at 6th place or lower if more people decide to pass me and fish for natural crits, but I have other things to do now. So, again, if you especially don't have the Octagram Demon Lord Milim team, which is part 1 banner, this one banner right here, I mean, I still don't recommend you summon for it. You should still be going for the triple banner, or you should be now holding your crystals for whatever potential collab in December. But this is the team that they want us to run, so let's take a look at it. Okay, so this is the team. Octagram Demon Lord Guy, the new Diablo, and the new Raphael. Antagonist Isis from the other banner, Milim, and then Shinsha from last meta. This is a very whaley team. I don't expect everyone to have this, but I'm going to show it to you in case you have some kind of semblance of this. This fight actually came around last month as well, so I'll have a link to the video. Actually, I think I just do it in a separate clip, so never mind. But there will be a link to in the video description to last month's Boss Battle 1, where they wanted us to use this team. And some of the options work. The stage nerfs blues, so some of those blue teams won't work very well, but there are some other green teams that I use there that you can try and get around. But let's go ahead and figure out where I need to start this clip. Okay, so turn 1, we're going to use 1 stack of the Raphael skill because it's free, right? And then we're going to bring Milim and Shinsha in, because their protection traits that are underneath them will give us Guy turn 2. But we need to send all these orbs after we use the Milim buff. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, boom, boom. And now we're banking on 4 Milim orbs. Or 5, depending on how lucky you get. But here, you need that. Like, you need to get her EX ult on this turn. And if you don't, if you're going to run this team, you might as well restart. So Rainbow Orbs, we'll use the Diablo green buff because it's free, and we didn't use it last turn because I don't want the cost to go higher. And then we'll use the second stack of Raphael, we'll bring in Isis, and then we'll use Guy, because this puts the Lord's Ambition, and also for every character it's put on 30 or 10% weakness resistance down on Guy at the end of the turn, which means it'll be 30% for the rest of the fight, essentially. So every turn we're going to put 30, 60, 90. And now Milim has the EX ult. That's good. And now we have to get enough points to hold a bunch of different buffs in the back. So this turn, we already have her piercing and synergy skill active, so we need to use the synergy buff from Guy, or not Guy, but Diablo. We need to use the Drago buff from Isis, and then we'll bring in Shinsha, because again, we want her turn 2 protection trait for Milim. And then we need to use the Diablo buff before we send her away. Oh, or not. We should have used the Diablo buff there, but oh well. We do at least use the third and final stack of the... third and final stack of Raphael's buff. If we wanted to use the green buff, we would have skipped the Drago effect with Isis, and we would have just used the green buff instead. That is an alternate way to do it. Either way, it gets the job done. But honestly, you want to get an alt for Diablo at least once, so you can get that extra stack of Weakness Strike for Divine General, which Milim technically is. So here, we'll use the space buff now. Boom. And then we'll bring Diablo back in, and then we will use the green buff and another use of Guy. So this is now the third turn that we've had the Lord's Ambition / stacking weakness resistance. Diablo now has quite a few buffs going on. Not quite an EX alt, unfortunate, but he's got the synergy and the dark attack, so his normal orbs hit really hard, which is good. And then we're at 1,000,000. This is the final turn, and we need to use the buff from Shinsha and the buff from Isis, the debuff from Isis. So Isis will come in for Raphael. His damage is not really important here. We need to figure out who has the most orbs. So yeah, it's going to be Raphael. So we'll bring Isis in. We'll use the 2 buffs. Neither of them need Milim to be up front because they're an alt buff and then debuffs on the enemy, so they're fine. And then Milim will come in for Isis, and then we'll use Guy for the final time. And there's nothing really that we need to use here. So, full hand of greens plus the element resistance down. We send Diablo first to give Milim the extra weakness strike. He does 128. Milim does 27.9 million damage. 700,000 on the normal orb, and then 1.4 million on her 200% orb. And that was my previous high score. The only way I got better through my runs are getting more Diablo ults to get extra weakness strike on Milim. Or if you want to, you can fish for that natural crit. But that was my previously highest scored team, and this is the team that all the whales are running. It's just, are you going to sit there to hit 2%? But let's move on. Alright, second team is the team that we used essentially last month. So Guy, Milim, Exalted Champion Guy, Shinsha, Isis, and Visions of Coleus, Violet. So it's still running pretty much the same way, it's just we don't have the new Divine General units, Raphael and Diablo, which this might be even more out of hand than other people, because people probably summon for Diablo and Raphael, but it's an option, it's a variant, we're going to use it. We're going to use it. Just know that it's not as powerful, because the 120% magic, or the element buff, and 100% synergy power is quite hefty things that we're missing, because now we're getting 40% magic damage, or 40% synergy power, and 100% magic damage. It's not quite equal, but we do have 2 Octagram Demon Lords, so we can use the Rainbow Orb starting out, because we brought a skill point Space Milim up front, and so we could just convert 4 of them to Rainbows, and this eliminates some of the RNG required, and now we've got a bunch of Milim Orbs, so we'll do it again. Boom, and now it's all Guy and Milims, so now they're all Rainbow Orbs. But we will still use Protector Guy for those stacks of weakness resistance down and the element down, so we hit harder here. We've got the Pierce and Synergy buff active for Milim, and now that she has an EX alt, they're ready to go, because we also rushed the alt last turn as well. I don't know if we caught that because it's going a little fast, but we also used Guy's alt rush ability, which puts synergy resistance down on the enemy guy. So now we got 2 EX alts, so we'll use the magic buff, we'll use the synergy buff, and then we'll send Guy and Milim away, because they're going to be our quote-unquote damage dealers. We'll bring in Shinsha and Isis, we'll use Guy here, and then we'll just burn the last 2 turns, and we just need to have enough points to use the Shinsha debuff or buff, and then the 2 Isis buffs, and then we're ready to go. It's not going to do as much damage as the first team, by any means, but if you have these options, it's something you can do. It's just a big ask. the other teams we have in the rest of the video are not quite as whaley, I guess. I guess. This stage, because it has such a high damage or a score like limit, it is probably the single biggest stage for all of your scores, including Normal Battle 1. Like, Normal Battle 1 is almost as good as Boss Battle 2, which is wild to think about, but it's what they wanted to do, I guess. So, alright, this is the final turn. We have a stack of Guy, and we've got 180 skill points, which means we have enough to nuke now. And we have an Isis alt, which I guess is cool. So we'll use the Shinsha buff now, because no one has to be up front for it. And then we'll swap out for whoever has the most orbs. So Guy in for Shinsha, because she only had 1, and then Milim in for Violet, because she has 2. And then we'll use the buff and, well, debuff and buff. And we don't really need to do anything else here. I mean, we could have used that synergy power, but it wouldn't have hit Isis, and we already have it applied to Milim and Guy, so not a big deal. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Guy, 1.2 million. Isis, 33k. And then Milim does 13 million damage. So yeah, not 29 million, but it's still pretty hefty for what we're trying to talk about here. And our final score ends up being, after all the stacks, it doesn't matter anymore. And we end up at 603,000. So yeah, not 1.2 million, but it is what it is. Let's move on. All right, the next team is like Divine General, half meta kind of thing. Almizia, Gazel, Diablo, Raphael. We brought the OG Space Masked Hero, which in hindsight I really don't recommend for reasons we'll talk about in the video. And then Dark Milim is going to be our nuking character from the first anniversary. So if you have the new Milim by all chance, like, use her. But this Milim being 2 years old, she's available in like the free choice bazaar and everything with ticket. So you might have her, you can pick her up if you want. She's going to be our quote-unquote DPS character, and this is just going to be a 5-turn stack team. Okay, so first off, this stage, he gives us a crit resistant, or crit damage debuff. So bringing the hero, we brought her for the rewind, and I do use her crit in this fight, but maybe it's not the best thing to do, because it might actually hurt her damage. So if you're going to run this team, probably go without the crit next time, and you'll probably score a little bit higher. But turn 1, we used 1 stack of Raphael, we used the Diablo buff, and we used Milim's orb change, because we can use that, and it's going to hit. So we have a full 6-hand of green turn 1. Turn 2, we just need to orb change as much as we can with Gazel to get his most points, which his 30% skill point buff works technically alongside Milim's until you hit 500%, which we are not hitting 500% on this team. So we just need to use a lot of skills to get a lot of points, to get as many stacks of Raphael as possible. Now, Milim being our DPS is great, but she's also a secondary orb changer, right? She can convert any of someone's orbs to green, which is really impactful. So even though we get her ult here, we're going to have to use her eventually. So probably not this turn, but the next turn. And especially if we just continue to get hands of not a lot of green orbs. So we probably send her away here, and then I have to think long and hard about what to do after that. Or we don't send her away at all, and we just use it, because there's nothing I can do. We're probably going to get her ult again, especially when we use the rewind, so it's not really hurting us to not save her, and she's not an EX character, so she doesn't need a double ult gauge at all. And now here's where my conundrum is that who do I bring Gazel in for? Because if I bring him in for Milim, I could swap the Milim orb, but that also brings in this orange hero, and I can't change the hero's orb because she's not on Divine General. But another hero is. Logic me that, game. So what I end up doing eventually is I just... Oops, sorry, we'll skip back. I just don't do anything, and I just use Milim's orb change a second time, and then we just run this, and we burn her ult out, because I'm confident that we're going to get another one eventually. So... here we are, and it's very long. This fight takes forever because running the Divine General team just takes forever to do. because of how much complicated swapping and skill usage there is. It takes like a 5-minute team and turns into a 15-minute team, I swear to God. But it really doesn't help if the game never gives me any frigging green orbs. Which means that we are going to get a lot of skill points, because we're going to orb change a literal butt ton, but also I want stacks of Raphael, and I can't do that if I'm constantly having to orb change literally every single friggin' orb. So, it's very annoying. So boom, boom, okay, cool. We need to get Milim's ult. We activated the rewind, so this is a free turn right here, so we'll send that. The Diablo ult effect does not hit Milim at all, because she's not on Divine General, which I think is a huge mistake, but oh well. And then we get this hand, which is honestly better, because now Milim has an ult, and she has no orb, which means that this is an entire hand of Divine Generals. So we're going to get maximum points here. So we can use Elmesia to reset twice, and we could stack as much as we possibly can with Raphael now, who's not going to get any more ult gauge, except from Elmesia, but that will get us the EX ult for him, even though we have no orbs. So orb change, Elmesia reset again, and then we can just do one more orb change and as many stacks as possible with Raphael to buff up Milim's damage. And have enough points to use the Raphael buff, the Gazel buff, or not the Gazel buff, but Raphael, Diablo, Milim. And in this run, I do use the hero buff. But again, if you're going to use this team, I probably suggest you not use the hero buff because of the debuff that we have on everybody. It'll hurt your damage at the end. But we can at least see what it does when it does crit. So there's the EX ults for both of them, plus Gazel. That's cool and everything. We'll use the space and dark attack, and then we'll take Raphael out. I actually probably should take Diablo out, but oh well. It's probably a misplay right there on my part too. So now we have this, so buff, buff, buff. We could use, yeah, we could have reset with Elmesia and used like one more stack of Raphael's synergy power instead, but oh well, not a terrible loss here. We have a full 6-hand send of Diablos, so I mean, that's cool, I guess. 2.9k. The hero, 224. Milim, 969. 1, 2, and 3. And yeah, if you don't crit, you probably will actually end up doing more damage. You'd probably break 2 million there easily, but I just wanted to crit because we brought the hero. So that's an example you can use using the Divine General team plus 2 old characters, because I'm assuming you didn't pull for the new hero, who wouldn't really help you here, but she would, and then Blanca like really wouldn't help you here. So there's an option. Alright, we'll put Milim now on the Exalted Champions team with the new Isis and Kyokyo, Veldora, and Diablo, still for the green buff and the synergy power. Belzard's giving us the Drago effect and the element buff damage, so again, if you have the new Milim, she'll work on this team fairly well, and if you don't, well, there's a 2-year-old substitute we can use, and we're going to use, just as an example. But know that if you have the newer version, she will do a lot more damage, because she's getting an EX ult. So, turn 1, we could either use Veldora or Milim's orb change, like it really doesn't matter. We're going to use Veldora's here, because we're not really going to use him ever again, except for his green buff. So we'll bring Isis in, boom, boom, boom. We've used the free 50% gauge increase for this turn. Next turn we'll use the 70% for Veldora, because that lasts for 2 turns. We don't really need to use multiple skills either, so we don't need Diablo's buff. So here, we got a lot of Milim orbs, great. So 70% gauge increase, magic resistance down helps our orb damage. We'll bring Kyokyo in, because after we get the ult with Milim, we're going to hold his buff on her and send her away. So Belzard converts everything to greens. Boom, boom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. The 70% gauge increase means that we're going to get a lot of skill points, a lot of gauge, and a lot of protection gauge. And now Milim's ready to go. She's good. And we're not critting on this team, so we don't have to worry about the debuff. So we shall apply the Drago buff, which is Pierce Power, which we're not actually piercing with this team. And we're going to get the Drago anyways from Belzard, so it's not a big deal that we use the Isis buff, but in case we naturally pierce, you know, it's nice to have it. And we have a lot of points, so we might as well. It's not like we're going to lose out on anything. And then we'll use Diablo's 90-point buff because we have enough points for it. And we're going to make it all back because we have the Veldora buff. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then turn turn 4? It's a gimme turn. You could do whatever you want here. We've used pretty much everything minus the Milim buff and the Isis debuff. So you just need to have 105 points going into the nuke at minimum, which it's not very difficult to have on this team. So we'll swap this out so we can get another full 6-hand send. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We'll send Kyoko last because he's in the unbound state and he's dark. And yeah, he's doing 99k because he's unbound, dark. He's got the Pierce power buff. He's got the element buff from Belzard. He's doing good damage right there. And now comes the final turn. We'll probably take Diablo out, or we'll take Veldora out, depending on who we want to do. We do want to leave Kyoko up here because he is technically single target, and he is unbound right now. So yeah, we take Diablo. We've already used his buff, so it's not a big deal. And then we'll bring Isis in, and then we'll use buff and debuff, and we'll go ahead and nuke here after we use Belzard. So now we're ready to go. And, I mean, I guess we can do his buff again to help Isis and his own self out. Like, it's already applied to Milim, so this just is a little bit extra on top. So 114 from Isis. Kyoko does 249. Oh, he's AoE, never mind. Isis single target. 1.5 million off of Milim, which is fairly good for this team. And then 143k. We also crit right there, I think, which is not great, but oh well. And that gives us a final score of 142. So yeah, now we're dropping real fast on the scores because we're not using the optimal team anymore. So everything out here is just terrible, but it's better than nothing. Okay, the final team I have for you is the first anniversary Dark team. There's surprisingly not too many Dark magic nuking characters that are single target. There's the Milim, there's the new Milim, there's Shinsha, and then yeah, there's not a lot to pick from, unfortunately. So that's why we keep using this Milim, because she's so old and she's free technically from the shop. If you already have the hero, you can pick up Milim, who is a good character, but your options are kind of limited. And the Divine General team, we got Diablo, who does not have a damaging ult, and he's AoE to begin with, so this is like poor man, bottom of the barrel. You're using a 2-year-old team for this stage, but if it's what you got, it's what you got. And this video is meant to be a guide. I should have said that up front, but if you have other options, like substitute characters, like go ahead and put them on the team. Try it out. You don't have to ask me if X character will work for Y character. Try it yourself. This is how you learn. This is how you science stuff in this game, is trial and error. I'm doing just basic team builds for you so you can get a general idea of what teams to try and run, but you're going to have to make your own teams based on what you have available, and I can't make a team for every single person in the game. So we're just going to have to do what you can here. So this team, I mean, we have a lot of orb changing now. Veldora does reset skills. He does give us a stacking magic buff up to 70%, which is cool. And he does raise our skill cap. So we will have a lot of points to orb change. This is a good hand because our 2 single target magic characters, Shinsha and Milim, are getting a bunch of orbs. And now they're ready to go. So they don't need to be up front anymore. We just need to use enough skills to cap Veldora out and then just make it to turn 5. So this hand looks like crap, but we can use the debuff from Shinsha, which is crit resistance down. So hopefully we can try and bypass the crit debuff that we have on us, because we're going to have 40% crit damage from Rimuru, and then we can stack as much crit resistance as possible on the enemy. And then we can use Milim here to orb change. We have this incoming green orb from Sufia, so we can safely pull Milim out, and then we'll go ahead and just use some more skills here. So I use the crit buff here, thinking it would help me out, forgetting that he has crit resistance, so probably actually not the best idea. Not the best idea, because let's see, let's take a look. How much crit resistance does, or how much is that crit debuff that he's putting on us? So we are on turn 4, we're ready to go essentially. I'm just going to hold on to the Rimuru ult and just use skills to get enough points. and the crit resistance is 40%. So Rimuru technically bypasses that, which is good. That's pretty good. So we'll break even, and then the stacking resistance that Shinsha does means that our crits will actually help us do additional damage. So it's like kind of a wash, which is good, essentially. So we'll use... I think we screwed up here a little bit. Did we screw up here? 1, 2... No, okay, we're good. We're good. Okay, so we can reset with Veldora, and that'll give us enough points to use the Orb Change and the Shinsha debuff, and that'll be a full 6-hand send. Or no, okay, we gotta use the crit, and then the debuff. So we're just short of a 6-hand send. Rimuru, 132, Shinsha, 207, and then Milim, 282. And this is because we don't have the attack buff on anyone because of the seal. So Milim, if she's skill fused, gives all allies, or all dark allies, a 25% attack buff. So normally we'd be doing a little bit more, but he's sealed that ability. So we ended with a score of 70k in an A rank. It's pretty bad, but it's like the bottom of the barrel kind of option for you. So hopefully one of these teams helps you out in some way, shape, or form. If you have any other different team builds that you found to work for Boss Battle 1, please put them in the comments below. Again, there are some other teams I used last month that will be linked in the video description. You just need to search for them. But that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.